Welcome back to Momentous Struggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. On today's episode, we're going to do some more list building just to sit there and talk about some fun stuff and just be enjoying ourselves and trying to get ready for the holidays. So we're just going to have some fun with it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As always, joined by Aubrey. How we doing today?
Uh, it's been a day. I had to hunt down my laptop in order to get ready for this episode, and it turned out I contributed to the hiding of my laptop. I put it on a chair. It was out of the way. Then somebody used the chair to hold laundry. And why would I think my computer was under the laundry?
That's not
Oh
the
well.
normal place for it
Anyway,
to be, and I can see that. So, no,
but
you're good.
but this is the worst thing that's happened to me, Todd. Remind me, how many times have you been to urgent care in the past 5 days?
Well, just in the past 2 days, I've been to urgent care
Oh,
twice. Once yesterday, once
two
today.
days.
Yes,
Two
2 days.
days.
I'm 2 for 2 with urgent care. Had to take the wife yesterday and had to take the youngest daughter today. So that was, I am so done with urgent care. They both have had the flu, and I am done with sick people in the house, and I'm sure they are done with being sick. So yeah, been fun.
Oh, yes. So let's have fun with Shatterpoint instead.
Let's do so. Let's do so. So I know that you have been playing. You got to play in a tournament yesterday. Went to one of the smaller stores, a little outside of the greater Phoenix area. How'd that go?
I had fun. So went down to Maricopa, actual Maricopa. For those of you who know the Phoenix area, there's Maricopa County and there's Maricopa the city. So I actually went down to Mr. E's Comics and had a good time. It was a 3 round standard showdown. So we just played with the same squad all day, which I gotta say, Todd, and maybe this is because of the holidays, but it felt kind of nice to not have to think about like what I was gonna play each round and strategizing. I do think that Premier Showdowns are the more competitive
Mm-hmm.
pathway to this game. So not saying anything bad about them, but it was nice to just get to play my Mother Mall team, have fun all day. It was a good time. Good time.
Nice. Oh, and a side note: the town of Maricopa is not actually in Maricopa County. It is in Pinal County. I don't
Yes,
know what.
I was driving for a while. It only took me an hour to get out there, and this is going from Surprise to like past the south of Phoenix.
Yes.
But I was looking at my maps and I'm like, this thing's 50 miles away. I'm like, where am I going?
Yeah, so my
uh,
half sister and my stepfather and his family all lived in Maricopa, so I am very familiar with that area, so to speak. So, I have been there plenty of times. So, yeah, no, it's
okay. Yeah, so very nice shop. They had some cool comics. Like if I lived in Maricopa, I assume this is where I'd be going to get my nerd action on. There were some people playing Magic in the back and some kids coming in with their parents looking for Pokemon cards. I was like, "Yep, this is the happening spot." And then the tournament. So to give y'all a tournament report. So again, this was their first tournament, but there was clearly a store, either an employee or he had some connection with the store. He was super excited, wanted to run this event, and then they tell us at the beginning, they're like, "Oh, well, the rounds are going to be 90 minutes long," and I was
interesting.
like, "Oh." And they said it so matter of factly that I was like, well, okay. I'm like, I don't know, maybe the shop has to close early or like they don't have coverage or something. I'm like, well, whatever. But like, I wanted to draw attention to it, so I was like, well, okay. So normally, that's when Mission Critical would start, and then we'd get another 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So like when are we doing that and how I was like, how do you want to do this because you're not doing the thing. Well, apparently that was too subtle, Todd. I didn't just out and out say, hey, it's supposed to be 120 minutes, because they're like, oh well, we'll do it at 60 minutes then. It'll still be the last 30 minutes. So I'm thinking that they had a reason for this, and then I find out later when I'm talking in the Discord that No, they just made a mistake and thought the rounds were 90 minutes instead of 120 minutes.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is just important, listeners, to let you know how like basically 2 out of my 3 rounds went. So round 1, I'm playing against this kid. He's the same age as my stepson. He's there with his dad. But this is like his 3rd game of Shatterpoint. That's my round 1 opponent. And I'm like, and like, I don't know his familiarity with tabletop or whatever, but I'm like, I'm not going to like try and raffle stomp the kid. Well, me thinking about the importance of good sportsmanship and being nice is going to factor into my first ever true Shatterpoint tie, Todd. True tie. So we get to this very epic round 2 because I'm just gonna try and give you the highlights because I know you all really came here for Todd's sultry voice. You don't want to listen to me tell this story for too long. So we get to this moment where he's about to activate. I'm finishing my turn. I'm looking at the score, and I'm like, oh man, I've already won struggle 1. I'm like, I'm gonna win struggle 2 right now. If he doesn't both, he has to wound a character, take another character off a point, and that point needs to be the like double point,
Yeah.
right? They're like there was a very tiny window of what could make this happen, and so I'm looking at the board to see like, okay, is the game done? Like are we wrapping up here? What's going on? And I realize his maul is in a position to do everything I just said, assuming it rolls. There's a good roll, right? So he rolls. It's that point. He flips over his Shatterpoint card. But he's only played 3 games of Shatterpoint, Todd.
Yeah.
He's looking around and he's looking and he's like, I don't know. He's like, he actually, I believe, came to the correct decision. He's like, well, I think Maul is my best option here. But he's like, I don't like. He's like trying to figure it out, and like I'm just chomping at the bit because I'm like, oh my god, I played so many games of Maul. I'm like, all right, the pull thing. You don't have to attack the guy who you're pulling.
Yes.
So if you pull, because I think what it was is I had like my acolytes and Savage on the point, and all he had to do is, and it's an elevated one of those bridges. So all he has to do is pull Maul or Savage off the point, drop him in a hole, take out the Night Sisters. Hooray! Yay! He did the one action he could do to keep me from winning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lay it all out for him, and his eyes are like, what? You can do all of that? And he's like, I'm gonna do that then.
So you gave away the loss. Got it.
Unbeknownst to Aubrey while this is happening. Oh, and then like we still have this epic like following turn, like just continuing to fight over that point. No, actually, it was 2 more turns. We had this epic fight because I am not a chess master, Todd. I did not think ahead of like, I was just like, well, what is the best thing he could do to not lose right now? Instead, we have this epic like multi-turn battle over this point over here because it kept rolling over there and we kept activating over there. He ends up actually winning the struggle. And now we're going to struggle 3, which normally would have been fine because, again, I've played in enough tournaments. I'm like, oh, well, we're moving at a good pace here. We've got plenty of time, blah, blah, blah. Except then a timer goes off. And, of course, in my mind, what I thought was the mission critical timer was the end of the round timer.
Oh, no.
So we haven't actually started struggle 3 because like we were in the middle of like flipping over all the like I mean we were starting struggle 3, but like we hadn't even started the turn. Like it was still like my activation or whatever. And so when you look at the rules, well, the tiebreakers are, of course, how many struggles you won, usually 2-1 or 2-0, the number of wounds. And then the next thing is the number of like active objectives that you control, or right? Something like that. Like it's the like what objectives you have at the end of the activation.
Uh-huh.
Except the rules also say if what is it, if there's less than 5 minutes remaining in the round, or 3 minutes remaining in the round or whatever, and you haven't started the next struggle, you're just not supposed to. Do you see what happens? We each had 5 wounds. 5 wounds to 5 wounds. It's a true tie.
That's hilarious.
No one had any objectives
Yep.
because we had just turned off all the objectives for struggle 3. No one, it was still like my activation. I'm like, I'm rereading the tournament rules as what was it? It was Matt and Daniel. I'm trying to get everybody's names. They're like, I'm reading the rules as they're explaining it to me, and then the store owner's like trying to be nice. He's like, oh well, a Swiss draw, it's 1 point. And I'm like, oh my god, I've played Magic. I'm not upset that it's a draw. I'm trying to figure out how I got a draw when there's like 4 different ways for us to break ties.
That's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
And I'm like, I could have just won, Todd.
Yeah.
And not that I want to like beat in the face of this 14-year-old kid. Like, that's not important to me. But I could have just won. And instead I got this tie, an actual tie. Like, how many people have even gotten a tie in Shatterpoint?
You are one of the few that I can honestly think of that actually got a tie. That's absolutely hilarious. So that's great.
Yeah. So I could give you the rest of the tournament in quicker fashion because that one just warranted a lot of detail. So round 2, my opponent, I believe his name was Damon. Sorry, buddy, if I didn't get that right. So he was on Vader Grand Inquisitor, and it was one of those things where we decided, everyone was like, we all brought shifting priorities, so we're not gonna like be coy about this. We're all playing on shifting priorities. And I did do a good job of like keeping my supporting characters away from all the lightsabers and like shooting in and being a little more defensive. Like, I was actually behind on points in the beginning of the struggle, but I feel like I positioned really well because we had some good dice back and forth and good combat and nobody was really getting an upper hand. But I feel like I was able to leverage my position really well. And so I did the thing, but the problem is I had let objective slip away to get the better positioning.
Mm-hmm.
So I slowly was winning struggle 1, like very, very slowly. And so the same thing happens with the clock. Like, this time I at least had heard the 60-minute mission critical, like it had registered. And we're still in struggle 1 when that goes off. Like, I'm about to win it, but like we're still in struggle 1, and I'm
That's
like,
wild.
oh god. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, normally we would have another hour, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that another hour is more than enough time to get through 2 struggles, even
Definitely.
if you're like we know struggle 1 tends to go long in this game. 2 and 3, like 2, sometimes you win 2 or 3 activations. So I finish up struggle 1, win that. We're in struggle 2. I have an excellent attack against Grand Inquisitor where I deal 0 damage to him.
Oh,
But yeah, 0 damage. Like, great. Okay. But I get through to the point where it's like, I'm probably gonna win the second struggle, but not like, the second struggle is tough on shifting priorities, right? So like,
mm-hmm.
It's not sure. And all of a sudden, boom, time's done. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my god, this, like, it's still throwing me off, this, like, the time. And so I'm thinking Magic, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, I won the first struggle, I guess that's it. And they're like, no, you still have to look at tiebreakers because it's not finished. And I'm like,
But you won 1-0. Okay, well, whatever.
I was like, I won 1-0. But at this point, I was so annoyed over the time because even my opponent was like, oh, well, that was kind of anticlimactic. Like, we weren't even like in combat or anything. Like, it just kind of went.
Yeah.
And so we look at the objectives, and I'm like, I don't even think we're even on wounds, but I think at this point everyone was so frazzled by my getting a true tie last round that they were mixing everything up, and I was like, whatever, I'm not fighting about this. I end up winning anyway. If I remembered right, I had two. I had at least two, probably three. I think I had all three objectives at that point. Whatever. So I win that one, but it just it felt bad, right? Because it wasn't really clean.
Mm.
and and then I go into round three, and I'm playing against Matt, the same Matt. I think it's Butchar. Ooh,
Butcher,
sorry,
yep.
man, if I'm getting your name. Butcher. Yeah. He played in the IO tournament, right?
Yep.
And so we had a good game, but there was just a couple of his rolls where like my dice weren't even bad, but I would get like three or four blocks, and he was playing
He was playing
Grievous,
CAD. Grievous CAD.
yeah, Grievous CAD,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd be like, "Cool, okay. After I remove your three or four blocks, I have like four more successes, like four times. Like I can't even be mad. Like my dice were rolling good too, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I guess I'll just get beat on for this whole game. And I also like I made this early mistake, which like Matt and I, because we were kind of talking out some of our plays, right? Because we played against each other before, and it's round three. We're having a fun day. There was one moment where I really didn't want to move my Mandalorian. I was playing with the Clan Crease Mandos,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to move them up to take this point that Django had, but I needed to score the points, or else, like, basically, Matt kind of had like a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario where, like, I was gonna fall too far. Oh, that was right. He had it was earlier in the game. He had like the perfect top three cards. It was like he had the B2s, and he was able to move them onto 2 points right away. Then he had Kalani activate after them, and so Kalani moved with was it the Magna Guards? Yeah, it must have been the Magna Guards, I think. That were moving over here. So like and then I think it was one of his primaries after that. Yeah, I think Grievous then like scuttled up to attack somebody, but like he had his whole team like already around all of the objectives by like turn three. And so
Nice.
I was like, I don't want to move my Mandalorians up there, but if I don't try to take an objective from somebody, I'm just gonna lose in like two turns from just the sheer number of points he was scoring. But then, of course, Grievous activates and brutalizes them, and like immediately thereafter. And I'm like, okay. Like I knew this was a bad decision. I even said it was a bad decision, and then I was just immediately punished right after there.
Makes sense. So you were playing Mother Maul, and
So
you went into. I mean, and then Mother Maul's
yes,
great into like more attrition-y based lists, and it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like there was some attrition, but there also like seems like I was looking at there's like there was quite a bit of Maul, but like you also had you know Ahsoka was in there, Asajj was in there, so it wasn't super heavy in the attrition of the that particular store's meta. So it seems like it was interesting to take her like having to go hitting her into all the different lists and like not having the option of playing a different list that you normally would in Premiere.
right, and some of it was like I feel like my list is very very well rounded, but there's things that can happen that like if you have different characters you would have more options. Like in that same game with Matt, and of course Matt played very well, so I'm not throwing anything. But there was this problem where like the whole fight shifted to my right side of the table. But like Savage, who is like my tank and beater, and if we're being honest, I should probably play Django instead of Savage. But I like having all the Dathomirians together. Uh, he was stuck over here on an objective that was no longer active for struggles 2 and 3, and like we only got like I mean, like I said, Matt had great placement, but his dice were also on fire. We didn't even get through two activations of the order deck. that's how bad it was. Was like I didn't get to activate all of my units 2 times in that struggle.
Interesting.
like
Interesting.
it was it was a knockout done and done. Like CAD at one point, like practically in the course of, it was 2 turns. CAD went from wounding Maul on his back point to coming over and attacking my mother on my back point, just because of all of the movement the CAD gets to like do in between on other activations.
Yeah.
Like I have to say the like either Grievous CAD or Dooku CAD must be a really good team. Like I kind of want to try that next with like the all droids and CAD and one other separatist leader. Seems like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's still a lot of unexplored space, I think, in the game, and I think that's something that definitely is going, like, people have the opportunity to do as this game keeps getting growing and everything along those lines. So yeah, it sounds like it was a fun casual tournament though. Sounds like it was a good little a first tournament. I'm sure that they're going to continue to have some cool events up there over at Mr. E's. So yeah, sounds awesome.
Yes,
Well,
yes, yes.
let's go ahead and jump into our main topic, and or I wouldn't even say topic. Our main fun discussion for the day. So what we were gonna do, we're gonna do some more just kind of like fun list building. Because I know like you like to do your fun time with Aubrey, story time with Aubrey. So we did a all Republic, we did an all Separatist, and I think like when it comes to after that, it's like you really can't do a lot of like just simple tag building because there's not enough out there to do that. So we were sitting there talking. It's like, well, what if we just build around the color of the card? So you're my boy blue. We're gonna go ahead and just have some fun looking at just all blue cards and kind of just building around it. So it opens up a little bit more of the building opportunity. A couple more, cards are available. A couple more units are available to build around. So what are you thinking about with this? I know because like you've had a little bit more time than I have because I've been busy with sick family. So what have you been thinking about with this team?
Okay, all right. So if we're looking at the blue cards, uh, to no one's surprise, the blue is the Republic,
Mm-hmm.
and so as a result, you are almost all Galactic Republic. You do not get out of Galactic Republic until you get all the way down to Bo-Katan and Clan Kreese Mandalorians.
Yeah.
So the blue squad is basically Galactic Republic, and if you are all in on Galactic Republic synergies, then this is where we're at. But Todd, we're doing a competitive list and then a fun list, right?
Yeah, yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, all right.
But
Well, in that
we did
case,
last time we did
oh
a
no,
competitive list though. No, last time we did a competitive list, we did Jenga or we did Mace and Obi. Let's try and do something a little different. Let's not go with the same flavor that we did last time. Let's see if we can play around with it and something a little more that like other than those two though.
well, actually, I did have an idea for something different.
Cool.
So, so this is specific to Sabotage Showdown, I will say. But we've been noticing that with Sabotage Showdown, the back points are mattering more, elevation and terrain is mattering. Well, I mean, maybe about the same, but uh, still, positioning is really important, right? And
Yeah.
ranged characters get to live. But also when it switches, the mobility piece becomes really important because they do that like in what is it, like an inverted triangle or
Yeah.
some kind of thing. I might not be describing this well, listeners. Sorry, but the point is that I was thinking about Luminara and Queen Amidala, and we're gonna kind of do this like all ladies battlefield. They're
Okay.
just getting escorted by clone commandos.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm thinking, and specifically, I know people have been kind of down on her, but I'm thinking we actually bring Barris Offie, like we just bring the Luminara box
Okay.
as is, because then you have some displacement with Barris. You just have to be careful with the force. And then you bring the Padme box with, you know, Padme, Sabe, and the Handmaidens, because the Handmaidens have that, that better defensive maneuver, exposed flank, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking that that would help specifically and be like this is something that's maybe like an underdog, but I feel like this might be flying under the radar. This team might be worth looking at on Sabotage Showdown specifically.
No, I mean I think that'd be good, and we still have the two different coordinated fires. You have pin coordinated fire from the Naboo Roy Handmaidens, and then you have the coordinated fire from the commandos that are going to do some damage there. So I still like that you can have them hang back, do some different coordinated fires with the two of them. You have the different defensive maneuvers. I mean, if you're bringing Padme, you definitely want to bring her box as a whole. So yeah, and I like having the diceless displacement that you get with Barris. So yeah, no, I think that'd be a fun list. I mean, I think you could sit there and give that a good run in a good tournament. I think that'd be kind of fun to do in like a just a regular non-premier event.
Yeah, yeah. I actually am thinking about trying out something a little bit different, just off topic. I kind of want to try Maul and Luminara together and create some sort of highly mobile team, but I haven't quite figured out what that would look like because it wouldn't be like all Dathomirian or anything. But
Yeah,
I gotta think about it more.
interesting, interesting. Also kind of wonder. I mean, it's like how. I mean, I don't know. That would almost like I almost want to try like the double almost a double Padawan thing that you could also almost do with this one too. With like if you were to take out Sabe and put in Ahsoka, but I don't know if that like if you're just taking away too much of the synergies with Amidala there.
Oof, that's a tough one. That is tough because I mean, Loyal Protector is very
It
good.
is
Uh, it's so good, but I mean, it's definitely worth a shot. I do think that we are getting a little like it's hard to break apart the Padme box,
it
but I
really
think
is
it's at least worth a try to just see. And this is a good list to test that out. You know.
definitely. I mean, it's yeah, you are losing a little bit of the because you of course have the coordinated fire that Queen Amidala gives to her handmaidens, so you'd be losing that with with Sabe for that damage that she can do there. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it might not be. It might be. I don't know if the trade off would be good enough to sit there and take Sabe out for just for that. But I think this would be fun. I think I definitely want to put this together, throw it on the table, and see how that plays out.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. So Todd, do you have a fun list?
I don't
Hmm?
like I said I didn't really have like unfortunately like with so we are almost exactly a month away, 31 days away basically from LVO, and with that coming up, I'm pretty active in the MCP side of the community here. So there's been so much where it's just like prep going in. I'm actually like trying to put together a couple of like tournaments locally to sit there and do some last minute type of prepping for that.
Yeah,
And
I saw that on the Discord.
yep, and getting some painting done myself. So I like having because again, our friend Rich, he has me. He gave me PTSD, and I can't sit there and play something that's gray. I have to sit there and have it painted before I put it on the table. So I'm like frantically trying to get stuff painted before I go there to get to LVO. So I have really been kind of just struggling to sit there and do a lot of the like putting together a good list. So I don't have a fun list, but I think you can like a story time with Aubrey sometimes can go a little long, but then we're okay with that. So I want to hear what the story time with Aubrey team is going to be.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I don't for this one because I already did like the whole dark galactic republic thing last time, but I am stuck by the by the blue cards. I am stuck to the blue cards.
Yep.
And so that means I do not have access to Vader this time.
You don't.
So I thought what I would rather do is just give us an episode of the Clone Wars.
Okay.
This team is just, do you want to relive your favorite moments from Clone Wars? So that means you have to have Kenobi and Skywalker, Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Makes sense.
And what I will do for story time, because I'm not gonna relay like a whole episode of Clone Wars, but I have to tell everybody about one of my all-time favorite Star Wars books, all time. And I promise you, I do not say this lightly. It is a movie novelization. That's it, Todd. It is just one of the books that was written to tell you the plot of the movie that's released like a week or two before the movie comes out to like get us more excited for Star Wars. I don't understand this like plan, but whatever. It's written by Matthew Stover. And let me tell you, everyone, okay, can we be real for a minute? The prequels aren't as good as you are all remembering. They're really not. Like I love them too. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, they're great. But some of that dialogue is bad. It's so bad. So if you want this great story that is Revenge of the Sith, because Revenge of the Sith is a great story, but you don't want the dialogue to be bad, might I introduce you to the book written by Matthew Stover. It is phenomenal. He writes some scenes with Dooku, and it's just Dooku sitting in a chair talking to Palpatine, and you are terrified of Count Dooku. He writes this scene where Obi-Wan and Padme are both worried about Anakin, and they don't know what to do to help him, and they're both kind of dancing around the subject that they know that, like, we're not going to tell each other that I know something's going on with you and Anakin, but we're just going to both pretend. And it is heartbreaking. There is this another scene where where Dooku is getting killed, and the story is told from Dooku's point of view right up until Anakin kills him. And you're just like, whoa, this got really dark. And listeners, I did get this book the day it came out. I did read this book. And I spent so much time trying to convince my friends that this movie was going to be good because everybody thought they were going to be bad. And I was like, no, I read the story. The plot's really good. And then I watched Revenge of the Sith in the movie theaters because I was that nerd. And you know it wasn't in the movie version of
Pretty
Revenge
much
of the Sith?
all of those things that you were super excited about, yes. Thank you, Disney.
So, no, that was George. No, that was George Lucas.
Oh, that's right. That was before Disney.
You can't lay it at the feet of Disney.
Oh,
that was
that's right.
George. Oh, Matthew Stover gave Anakin and Obi-Wan such heartfelt dialogue, like them interacting with each other. It felt so natural and good. Anakin and Padme did not have awkward, weird dialogue that no husband and wife, no matter how secret you are, would say to each other in the privacy of their home. They just talked naturally to one another. Like I sometimes don't give Padme credit, and it's because, like, no sane woman would actually be with Anakin Skywalker for any length of time. Not, like, come on. The dude is a walking red flag. But in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, Matthew Stover convinces me that Padme really loves Anakin. more than anything George Lucas has ever done. That one book made me think, no, she really loves this man. And she has some great like she has agency in the story. She does and none of it is on screen. Like there's a whole scene that could have been straight out of Andor, and George actually filmed it. It's in the deleted scenes. It's where Padme walks into Palpatine's office with 2,000 senators' names on a petition and tells him, "Look, we're watching you, and we see what you're doing to our republic, and we're not going to stand for it." But Palpatine had just convinced Anakin to stand in this meeting. So Padme and Anakin are on opposing sides of this political conflict. And the scene is phenomenal. And I don't even have to give Matthew Stover credit. George actually wrote this one. It's great. We get to see Padme actually be a senator. Like, it's her job. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this and how it relates to Shatterpoint, Todd, is this. Yeah, I know some of the listeners are like, "Wait, what podcast did we sign up for? This is a Shatterpoint podcast."
Like, what happened to Aubrey? He went off the rails.
At the beginning of the novel, there's this adorable scene that Matthew Stover writes where everyone on Coruscant is terrified because a warlord known for his brutality has invaded the planet and has troops on the ground. And all the younglings across the entire galaxy who
Get
are
murdered
watching
by Anakin.
like it's No. This is before. Before the rest of the Revenge of the Sith. This is the good part.
That is the good
part.
part.
All of the younglings, all across the galaxy. wait. We talked about this. They are theoretical youngling massacre moves that Obi-Wan taught to Anakin. Theoretical. There's a theoretical. You know, for those of you who haven't seen. I'm the Obi-Wan deep fake channel on YouTube. That's what I'm referencing here, in case you didn't get it. All right. Anyway, back to before the younglings get murdered. The younglings all over the galaxy are watching their parents, watching the news like it's 9/11. They're seeing the end of democracy in real time. The younglings are like, no. It's okay, mommy. Anakin and Obi-Wan will be there any minute. And they're like, what are you talking about? But it's because, as Matthew Stover goes on to explain, the names Kenobi and Skywalker are the names of miracles. But it's not Obi-Wan, and it's not Anakin. It is Anakin and Obi-Wan, Kenobi and Skywalker, to the point where little younglings climbing up trees. Does that sound familiar, Todd? Do we know any younglings that might be climbing up trees almost constantly?
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, the parents will be like, which one were you, Kenobi or Skywalker? Because the news, you know,
they were in the hollows all the time,
badly, but the news was playing up, you know, every time Kenobi and Skywalker show up, they save the day because that's how it always was. So my dream team, Kenobi and Skywalker, right here. Next, all right. Sorry, Cody. Sorry, 212. No, you guys. All you did was blow up Obi-Wan on Utapau. I haven't forgiven you. You're done. No. The next two people you think of on the Blue Squad, if we're really reliving Clone Wars, Rex and Ahsoka. Okay. You have to have them both, right?
You do.
Yeah. They are our dream team. And then, okay, all right. We're leaving. I guess we're leaving Cody at home because we do know the 212 and the 501st were the clone companies that, you know, Anakin and Obi-Wan led into battle, so they're going to come along for the ride. Please, AMG, would you make them better? I would like to play with both of them. It would be great.
Now, I don't know if you listen to the Gamers Guild podcast. But in all fairness, the ARF, if you listen to their podcast, you'll understand this. But the ARF actually stands for Anakin Reconnaissance Force. So you can put the ARF in there because they are the Anakin Reconnaissance Force. So that it's okay.
Fine, fine. And no, I had not heard that one. So
Yeah.
all right.
Great podcast. I love those guys over there. They're great.
I mean, Todd, you know my background was not in the military, so I don't know structuring. But I assume wouldn't the 501st have an advanced recon force attached to them?
That's why you can put the Anakin Reconnaissance Force in there because they were already part of it. It's okay.
Okay, all right. I'm just checking. I'm like, isn't that how this works? If you have a battalion, you have like different groups who do different things. Like,
there's different companies and different squads, and yes, it's very easy to sit there and say that. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So there you go, everybody. You got a tournament report from me. You got a go read the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Like, I have an English degree. Yes, you can make your jokes. I'm a librarian. This book is actually just well written. It just also happens to be a Star Wars movie novelization. Go read it and read Matthew Stover's other books. They're all very good.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think that people, if you only watch like visual media, like the movies and the actual shows and everything like that, you miss out on a lot of the actual other lore that's available between comics and books and stuff like that. So definitely there's a lot of good books out there worth reading if you have the time for it. I mean, granted, everything's on audiobook nowadays, so it's easy to sit there and just throw the audiobook on and just start listening to stuff. So no, definitely worthwhile. And it's funny like how the novelizations, in any novelization of any movie, there's so much that gets left out in the movie making process. A lot of background stories and things along those lines that you miss that you can just pick up by reading the novel, or even, like I said, listening to the novel at this point in time. I know a lot of times I just have audiobooks that I have on and just plug my phone into my car, and as I'm driving kids to and from and everything like that, you got the books that you can just listen to and everything. So definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think that kind of wraps it up for us tonight. So I do want to, again, always say thanks to everybody for tuning in, listening to us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, and hearing that bell to sit there and let you know every time we put some new content up. Best way to support us if you're just listening to us as a podcast is to leave a review and a rating on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on. But other than that, as always, I want to say thank you for listening, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.